And likewise, if you're struggling with loneliness, why is it that you can't spend time alone? What's going on with yourself? And likewise, if you're filling a void with addiction, if it's even just food or alcohol or whatever it is, why are these things happening? Well, this young lady who contacted me, I slowly spoke with her and I said, the answer to your problem actually lays inside the statement of what you're doing. And when a person comes out into the world to the degree where they say, I want to harm myself, or I want to end myself, then there are two subjects in the sentence. There is I and there is myself. And the truth is that the solution does lay within ending yourself, but preserving I. So you do want to kill something, but you don't want to kill the entire aspect of the sentence. I want to kill myself. I want to end myself. What you want to end is myself and keep I as perfectly intact as possible so you can nourish and grow I to become the type of human being you want to be, and so you can have the correct mental and emotional life that you want. And that is why you are struggling so deeply in life, because I is not having that. Because myself is the imposter, and the myself is the thing causing the trouble. No matter what the trouble is, if it's negative thoughts, if it's addiction, if it's self-consciousness, if it's loneliness, or you can't spend time alone, it's all about that imposter. The I is always there. The myself is always causing the trouble in every single person.
Let us start a revolution. Change this world to what it should be, and forget all this confusion.
Hey guys, I want to revisit a topic that is very dear to my heart. And it's something I've spoken about before in relationship to my own personal experience and journey with this topic. But what I want to do is correlate that which I speak about with regards to what I've learned with my spiritual journey and what's helped me, but in a way, not just with that topic, but with the other aspects of negative human, mental, psychological and spiritual life that we go through. And how this is the solution, as far as I've seen with all of those things in my own life, that this is what I'm going to speak on, is the solution to all of that. But I also want to quickly say why it's so important for us to stay as in tune and light as we can. Now, I've not long came out of a week's worth of water fasting, a week's worth of fasting, about 6 days only on just water. And I didn't do this for spiritual reasons, but I gained the spiritual benefits from it. I also fast for health reasons as well. And I also fast in the past. I have, not while I've been in Africa, because it's just too difficult doing what I do and living with so many children to do so. But it increases mental capacity to get work done as well, which a lot of people won't understand unless they try it. But it's very true. You'll become so efficient if you drink nothing but water for a week with regards to your work, if you throw yourself into it. Because your focus is just perfect clarity, and it's such a profound focus compared to when you're consuming food. And this is the body's natural reaction, because it wants you more perfect so you can find food. That's why it happens. So I was feeling more light, and I was during the fast actually, and I was feeling very light a few days ago, but I was also tired and I was ready to end my day. And I got an intuitive feeling to go into my Facebook. So I did so. And when I went into my Facebook, I went to one of the many pages I have. I have the charities main page, the Share Tanzania one. I've got the Feathers Tale one, the Animal Rescue one, my personal one, and my blogger page, which has the name of my YouTube channel. I went into that one directly, and because I've had so many new subs in the last week, I've had a lot of new messages from people, and I'll do my best to reply to you all, but I am not someone who only does social media, so it's very difficult for me because of my workload to do so, but I'll do my level best to do so. But I had a lot of messages that I hadn't opened and that I hadn't replied to. And there was one message in among there that I hadn't opened, and I clicked on it. And there was no reason other than an intuitive feeling for me to do this process. And when I got there, I spoke to a young lady. And I told her I would make this video because while I was speaking to her, I felt like what I was saying, maybe it can help other people out there as well. And this young lady had contacted me because she was having thoughts that she would prefer not to be having. She was having suicidal thoughts. And at the same time, she mentioned that she'd been self-harming. Now, I had a hair tickling me. If this isn't something that troubles you in life, if you're not to the point of feeling sad or such despair that you're to the point of wanting to debating taking your own life, and you don't think you need to listen to what I'm going to say, what I think is that anyone who deals with any negative aspects of the human mental and emotional life that we all go through, anything from loneliness to things that you don't want to do with regards to addiction, or even if you're just feeling a little bit sad from time to time and lost with regards to your direction in life, all the way down to the other spectrum of that sadness, which can be utter despair to the point that you can't feel that you can't bear to go on and you need to change something. And this can often manifest in people as contemplating taking their lives and having suicidal thoughts. Then whichever end of the spectrum you are, if you're just a little sad, or you struggle being on your own, or you're struggling with addiction, if it's food, drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be, or you're just feeling a bit down and low because you're a bit lost with things, or maybe you're self-conscious, or so any of these problems we go through, then what I want to say is that what I've learned with regards to having such feelings within us is that there is a solution to all of those things in my life, at least, and that's what I want to discuss. Now, I made a long video before about my journey with depression, and I feel I have some space to speak on it because I too, many years ago now, tried to take my own life. So if you're watching this video because you've seen the title, I'll say quickly at the beginning, without any shadow of a doubt, it's not the answer. And my life is living proof of that, because had I succeeded with those thoughts whilst I was 18, coming up 19, 14 years ago now, I feel old when I say that, but had I succeeded with those thoughts, where would all of those children in my care be today? Now, I'll presume that God would have replaced me with someone else, but if he did not manage to, where would they be? And I know that many would be miserable, because I found some of these children tied up in sheds, and I found some of these children on the brink of death, and they needed a lot of care to bring them back from there because they were suffering with malnutrition, etc. The other boys who live with us, the street boys, for certain, if I wasn't there and hadn't done the NGOs, some would still be addicted to heroin, injecting from the age of 11. Horrendous lives. Others would still be out on the streets getting abused by the drug gangs. It doesn't bear thinking about, but it's something I have thought about. What would have happened if that had happened? And I wouldn't have my beautiful wife. I wouldn't have my first child on the way. All of these things, everything regarding Share Tanzania would not have occurred. Nearly 700 children, presumably if God didn't replace me, would still be in child labour, had I succeeded. So I know it's not the answer, because you never know where your life is going to take you. And you should always remember that, and bear my story in mind if you don't believe it. If you're 18 or older and you're struggling, in that short space of time, look to where God took my life and look at everything he did in my life. And it can go from that bad. It can go from being so torn up inside yourself mentally with no mental clarity and You can't even befriend yourself with your own thoughts. To the degree of such despair you debate taking your own life, and you do try, as I did when I was younger, to where I am today. Where I can actually, and I'm blessed enough that I've learned in life, I can teach people how to elevate out of there. I can teach people how to find the correct tools within themselves, and I can teach people how to commune with God. For all, many people in that position struggle to even believe there might be a God, as I used to. But now I don't need to believe because I know him. You can't do the things I've done without God, in my experience and in my humble opinion. But opinions are worthless in the end, but my experience. So, it's not the answer. But what is the answer, and why is it that you want that to happen? And likewise, if you're struggling with loneliness, why is it that you can't spend time alone? What's going on with yourself? And likewise, if you're filling a void with addiction, if it's even just food or alcohol or whatever it is, why are these things happening? Well, this young lady who contacted me, I slowly spoke with her and I said, the answer to your problem actually lays inside the statement of what you're doing. And when a person comes out into the world to the degree where they say, I want to harm myself, or I want to end myself, then there are two subjects in the sentence. There is I and there is myself. And the truth is that the solution does lay within ending yourself, but preserving I. So you do want to kill something, but you don't want to kill the entire aspect of the sentence. I want to kill myself. I want to end myself. What you want to end is myself and keep I as perfectly intact as possible, so you can nourish and grow I to become the type of human being you want to be, and so you can have the correct mental and emotional life that you want. And that is why you are struggling so deeply in life, because I is not having that. Because myself is the imposter, and the myself is the thing causing the trouble, no matter what the trouble is. If it's negative thoughts, if it's addiction, if it's self-consciousness, if it's loneliness, or you can't spend time alone, it's all about that imposter. The I is always there. The myself is always causing the trouble in every single person. Now, I said also to this young lady, details do not matter. Everybody has a story, but it's irrelevant in the end. To you, it's relevant, of course, and your story matters. And I actually want to do a series of videos where I debated inviting people to send their own in, called Own Your Story, because owning your story takes away, it just becomes a story. But the details are irrelevant, because some people have stronger coping mechanisms than others, so it doesn't matter how dramatic one person's story is compared to the other, the pain they feel is still the same, or the loneliness they feel is still the same. We all feel the same pains and loneliness, it all feels the same to us as human beings. So the question is, how do we end the story? Or how do we end the myself? Because if you're self-conscious, then this is basically a set of thoughts going on inside yourself that's doing it to you. If you get the feeling that you don't want to live in this world anymore, to the degree you want to end yourself because you're in so much turmoil, then it's a collection of thoughts inside yourself that's doing it. If you're overeating because you feel there's some sort of void, and that in itself is making you feel sad, the void is experienced by the myself aspect of that sentence, the two subjects, the myself aspect. And it is the myself who is going to collect the food and eat it. The I is the one who feels the sorrow. I can't live with myself, so I'm going to overeat this food to make it easier. I can't live with myself, so I'm going to try and end myself in dramatic circumstances. I can't live with myself, as in when you spend time alone, so I need to go and find other people, otherwise I get lonely and feel sad. Nothing wrong with socializing, but we still have to be able to do these things in life. And those two subjects, as I say, this is key. This is imperative we understand that. Because every religion on the planet has tried to teach you it. It's just not every practicing religion is teaching us it. And this is where we have a problem. Now, aside from the obvious aspects of issues with regards to chemical substance, alcohol and all of these things, of course, the ideal situation is to clean up your diet, get on a whole foods, natural diet, so it's not affecting the chemistry of your body. I'll get that out of the way first. That plays a role. But the very core of the problem, the genuine core of the problem, is the I in myself. And I said to this young lady, if I were with you now and I said to you, why do you feel the pain? Eventually, if you really think about it, you would have to come to the conclusion it's because you're having certain thoughts that make you feel the pain. And then if I said to you, okay, and what are these thoughts? And maybe I would respond and say, they're me, they are John. And then I would say, to get a little bit zen, okay, show me your thoughts. Show me this collection of thoughts that is John, if it was I, and I will fix them. And this begins a journey, because as soon as you try to find that collection of thoughts that are making you feel pain, or that is making you run off and take drugs or overeat or take alcohol or be sexually immoral or be addicted to pornography, this thing which is causing you so much grief, this ego, this myself, as soon as you look for it, you don't find it. Guaranteed every time. If you look for it, you won't find it. And this is the story, and it's very clear in Eastern religions. Buddhism physically teaches you how to address the negative ego. It physically teaches you how to overcome it. The same goes with the Hindu faith. When you move over, however, to Christian and Islamic, there's not actually anyone teaching you how to do it, but that's in there. The codes are inside those religions. The esoteric, mystic texts is what part of those texts are teaching us how to do it, but they do it in other ways, and they refer to, for instance, slaying the lion. As I always use my favourite example in the Bible, Samson defeats the beast, which is the lion, the snarling beast, and the snarling beast is that myself. But I don't like that image too much in regards to it, because it implies that you need to really fight something. Now, you do need to really fight something, but the rub is that if you actually want to fight it, you've got to look for it. And in looking for it, you can't find it. And that's where you begin to win the fight. And it's just as Jesus said, you take no thought. Take no thought for tomorrow. Take no thought for yourself. Take no thought for what you wear. Take no thought for what you're going to eat. And when you take no thought, then you can begin to let go of myself. Because you realize that myself is an imposter going on without you. It's often a malfunctioning organ. It's the brain. Because the brain is a wondrous aspect of nature, this linear processing system. But life is not linear. The brain can do things linear. It can write words in a linear way to describe what's going on around you. But what's going on around you is not linear. And the brain mistakes that ability and identifies it as who you are. And I said to this wonderful young lady, very brave young lady, that if you want to be liberated from this problem, you have to find a way to kill myself and preserve I whilst you do so. And the only way I found that is able to be done is with fasting, meditation, prayer, and healthy eating, healthy living, long distance exercise. Because all of those things correlate to being able, and also being mindful of the light you consume. Because all of those things correlate to having discipline over your mental body, an ability to sever from your linear processing system, which thinks that it's us, and in turn being able to push away the myself. So these religious texts, encoded in there is the anatomy of your mental well-being, and an aspect of that is finding a way to find dominion over your mental world and your mental life. And one of the key aspects of that is realizing that you need to get rid of the Goliath, the lion, all of these things that it's used to represent within there. You must push them to one side. Ancient Greeks also used the Minotaur. You have to go through a labyrinth. And when you go through this labyrinth, which is your own mind, this maze where the Minotaur is, you have to slay this beast. But slaying it, I find, is tricky, because when I began with this journey, I understood these esoteric texts. I thought I had to grab the myself. Here's the I at the beginning of that sentence, and here's the myself. I thought I had to grab the myself and have a fight with it and throw it around. And this actually never ever worked. And what worked was looking for it. Actually just looking for it and trying to present it to myself. And when I did that, I couldn't find it. And when you can't find it, you begin to realize that in not being able to find it, how it is that you overcome it. And that's maybe very difficult for people to get their heads around. But if you're feeling lonely, or if you're struggling with negative thoughts and you're distressed to that degree, then look for those thoughts. Look for that collection of thoughts and imagine that I here now, I can fix them, but only if you find them and present them to me. And if you show me them, then I'll be able to fix it. And when you can't find it, this is where you have that breakthrough. And this is how it was for myself anyway. This is where my breakthrough came with that. And in the end, what we are looking to do is to ensure that we understand our linear processing system and what it is good for and what it's used for. And we realize that for all the linear processing system is labelled inside society, in my instance as John St. Julien, there's very little I can get him to do. I can get him to pay bills, get a driving license and whatever else. This is what I can do with John St. Julien, but he is not who I am. He's a label. And the linear processing system inside you tends to be the thing that goes over and over with your memories or with expectations, and it punishes you and it makes you feel pain. But if you just quiet that down, in the present moment, pain is not there most of the time. It's really not. And if you're feeling lonely, it's because you're disconnected from that part of ourselves in the present moment where we can actually be nourished. I feel more lonely in crowds of people in a city than what I do sitting on my own. Whereas for other people, it's the other way around. But this is because I feel disconnected from source when everything's too busy for me. I'm under no illusion that the true aspect of non-loneliness in this reality is connectivity. And connectivity can come from conversations and joking and laughing with friends. But deep, real connectivity comes from silence. It comes from doing as we were instructed by all of the religious texts and taking no thought. And when we take no thought for the morrow, all we are left with is this here present moment. And in this here present moment, I am not suffering. In this here present moment, I am not in any pain from my past. In this here present moment, I am just here present in a silent room and I am loved and I feel fine. I have issues to deal with. I have sick friends. I have people dying back in Tanzania who I love, and these things are very upsetting and they're very painful. But in this here present moment, if I want to address those things, I can either let the linear processing system take over me, telling me about these problems and make me feel emotional and terrible, or I can come down and I can actually steer these events by having control of this present moment, because I don't let the linear processing aspect, which I've labelled myself earlier in the video, steer me. I steer the events, not myself. And I hope that's something that makes sense to people. I hope it's not too confusing to have these two labels as I've pulled it from that original sentence, I and myself. But the I aspect of me likes to steer and control things rather than the myself, because the myself is not whom I am. It's like I say, the linear processing system, which is a beautiful gift and we need it, and I can't survive without it, but it's not who I am. And people who suffer with loneliness, depression, addiction, all they need to do is raise up out of that linear processing system. And that linear processing system exists inside the brain cycle beta, and you need to raise up to alpha. And this ties in to everything I've ever taught with regards to the esoterics and the meditation and all of these things and healthy eating, because that is the end of suffering, and the Kundalini as well. But if you are struggling with negative thoughts, the very simple aspect of it is you have to find a way. If you can't live with yourself, then you need to find a way to end yourself and preserve you. And the only way you can do that is by taking no thought and making a realization that the yourself part of that sentence is your linear processing system. We call it brain, we call it ego, and it's not you. You've identified with something which is not actually you. And if you can make it quiet, the real you will become happy. And the only way you can make it quiet is by eating clean, having a bit of discipline, bit of meditation. It also helps to have others around you. There's nothing better to remind you that other people on this planet go through the same pains that you do as laying your head on the chest of another person whose heart is beating. As you hear that heart beating, you get that reminder, here's another human who feels pain just as I do, who feels sorrow just as I do, who struggles with addictions and so on just as I do. But we have to find a physical tool to overcome them, so as we can restore ourselves to a state of happiness. Or we can not be lonely when we're alone, or we can stop the addiction, or we can stop the negative thoughts, or we can end the despair, and by all means we can, without any shadow of a doubt, ensure that we don't hurt ourselves. And the easiest way to do it is to truly sit in silence and look for it. Fast for a day if you need to, fast for 2 days, 3 days, however many you need, and look, truly look for it. Find those thoughts, find that collection of thoughts that are troubling you and where your pain is coming from, and show them to somebody. And you'll never be able to show them to anybody. And as soon as you realise that very split second, you realise you can't show them to anybody, is the very split second you walk through the gate of healing. And it's all simply and peacefully and blissfully downhill from there. And then the magic begins. Magic of life. And I'm living proof. You can go from suicidal to something much, much different. There's something way beyond what your mind can comprehend when you're in that state. And I promise you it's possible. I promise. It was for me, so it has to be for you too. God bless, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.